that's a little bit better.
Yeah, I got to do something about this situation, man. I've had shitty lighting in this.
You know what I did? I bought these wireless light bulbs.
Yeah,
They are LEDs, but they're controlled by my iPad.
yeah.
I can go in and I can say, well, I want. I can actually turn off my lights. So I look at my camera and I go, okay, I look red. I'm going to turn on this one, maybe this one. And then I gradually set it up the way I like. And then I say, okay, then I can save that.
Yeah, that's very nice.
How did you get into YouTube and making videos and making music? I mean, you have a musical background. I think that's kind of obvious.
Yeah, my background has always been like I've always been dabbling with music, and most of it is like self-taught. So it's been many years of me just struggling to learn how to do stuff. But I was very early like interested in machines and stuff that machinery that made sounds, synthesizers in general, drum machines. When the groovebox era came along, I was just completely into that. I just wanted to learn how to manipulate these instruments because I was brought up listening to reggae, African music, all kinds of African music, funk, anything you can think of, and even like stuff like Clear Dance, John Fogerty, stuff like that. I've been listening to that stuff too, thanks to my mom. So I've had a really wide selection of music to listen to, but these people were always dealing with conventional instruments. People like to say real instruments. I don't know what real instrument means, but conventional instruments, guitars, pianos, violins. It never piqued my interest.
Yeah.
I sat down and I did these tunes and I learned how to play, but I got short fingers. I have no patience. I want a specific sound, and these conventional instruments cannot produce them unless you put effects on them.
Yeah.
Like you can take a guitar and put it through a guitar synthesizer pedal and it starts sounding like a synthesizer, right? That's what I wanted. I wanted the synth sounds. I wanted the weird sounds. I just got trapped as soon as I started hearing vocoders and stuff like that. It's just my mind completely. It was like an explosion, like an epiphany.
What was the first piece of gear you bought for making music?
The first musical computer thing was a Commodore 64.
Okay, so
all right, but I didn't purchase it. I nagged at my parents for it, right? And I come from a not so rich, I wouldn't say completely poor, but not so rich family. And so they had to work their asses off for a very long time in order to be able to afford me that thing. And that's what they could buy me that year, basically.
That was great. I mean, at the time, it was perfect for creators.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could do so much with it. And as soon as I discovered that you could program your own piano in there and you could actually access the synth engine and stuff like that, I started writing code for it, but I never really continued with it because what I realized was I wasn't interested in writing the code. I just wanted an instrument and use it. And so I had to find out what it was I was actually doing. What happened when I coded this thing here? Well, you were accessing a synth. And so there it just went on, man.
So I think by definition, then, it means that you're also a geek.
I am a complete and utter nerd in every sense of the word, man.
I feel you. Nerd. I feel you, man. I was the first kid to have a computer on my street, I was the first to go buy the magazine and type in the code to get a WordPress to work or whatever word processing that existed at the time. Because you can buy one, you just had to code it. I'm that old, yeah. I remember my parents' friend when they got the first Pong game.
How old are you, Luke? How old are you?
I'm 47.
47. All right. So you're what, 5 years older than me?
Oh, that's what it means. I didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, most people think that I am younger because I look young, but that's the camera. As soon as I take off the hat, it's just all gray. People
Well,
don't know that.
no, I didn't know you had gray hair. You want me to cut that? Or you want me to keep it here?
No. I mean, I'm gray haired. I'm balding. I'm getting a shiny spot, and I'm gonna have to lose this cap and hat and just change the way I look at some point because, yeah, I'm just tired of almost. I never thought I would be one of those people that would feel ashamed for losing your hair, but I discovered that I was one of those people.
Okay.
I'm starting to come to terms with it, though.
That's it. I looked at my videos this week. I feel I look so young 3 years ago. And it looks so far away. But I got a lot of gray hair in the last years. This, if I don't shave, it's almost all white. So I'm shaving to look younger.
So I sense a little bit of vanity in you then.
These DAWs right now, the one I prefer the most because they fit the way I think. And it's Gadget and Zen Beats. Cubase I get lost in it, and I expect something out of it that I don't get. So I'm getting angry about it,
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, if the workflow and look doesn't suit you, it's never going to help. Cubase works for me because I've used Cubase for 25 years, like since it started. Like Cubase is 1.0 when it was just MIDI on an Atari ST. I know Cubase.
I love for mixing, but lately it just crashes on me all the time. So I don't want to diss it. I don't want to be a pain, but it doesn't do the job. So I'm not talking about it anymore. I'm just waiting until they fix it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's something maybe we could just spend maybe a few minutes talking about, man, because is it right for me to just stop talking about something because I don't want to make negative videos? And that's a fair point. Like there are channels, for instance, that will say, don't buy this because this and that. Critique is always good, depending on how you put the critique. But I am still one of those people who don't want to make overly negative content. I don't want to pull in a crowd that are just spewing shit all the time. And
yeah, I get you. Because you get
how do you feel about that?
Because what I don't want is I don't want to be the forum where people just spit their guts about what they hate about the software. That's not what I want to be. I want to show people how to use it. I want to give them an idea of what they could do with it, And I want to teach. I want to explain. I want to share. But I'm not gonna just sit there and just say this is crap. This is not good. It's not as stable as I wish it was. Or I'm not going to talk about it. What was your first break?
My first break. Elaborate.
I mean, into the music world, into the YouTube world. Your first break that make it so that people say, "Hey, that's good," and then you feel that you were at the right place.
My break was me getting sober.
I was in one of your live chat when you talked about it, and I think it's always a powerful statement for people to understand, and it's also a very important decision. So I think my hat to you.
Yeah, I just decided to do something where I could help others. I just wanted to make videos for people like me, people who have a certain way of needing to learn by practically doing in some sort of way. That it's kind of counterintuitive when talking YouTube videos, but
that's what it is, because a lot of your videos and mine also is showing how to do it.
Yeah.
So instead of reading the manual and try to figure it out by himself, they look at somebody doing it. And that's what YouTube is a lot of, there's entertainment, but there's a lot of tutorials, because people, when today you look for something, you say, I want to be able to do this, you get videos before anything else. Probably 10 years ago, one of my boss at one point told me, it looks like a big job you have to do in front of you. And it has to do nothing with music, but when you look at something so complex, he said, it's like if you're building a wall. You will only put one brick at a time. So break it down to the simple part and just go one brick at a time, and you'll be able to build a wall. But when you look at the wall, you go, oh my God, it's a wall. Yeah, everything we do, we need to break it down into smaller pieces, and one step at a time we can do it. And that's, I think that a lot of tutorials are about just one brick, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I had a similar thing. One of my art teachers, she held up this huge piece of paper. It's a white paper, and she said, "Look at it." And so we looked at it, and then she said, "What are you doing with your eyes?" And the eyes are going like that because there's nothing. You know, it's white. You're going all over the place. It's big white page. But then she drew a dot in the middle, and suddenly all the eyes are focused on one point. And that's the thing. You got to find that dot to start, you know? You got to start at one place. So everything around us is always like this big white paper.
Yeah.
And everything new feels like a big white paper. You're just, it could be anything, especially if you don't understand that it is a white paper. It's just there in front of you. If you don't have anything to focus on, that's kind of what I at least try to do that with my videos, by explaining concepts, making people look for themselves, because that's what's empowering, to actually be able to feel like, wait a minute, I remember this. So I'm going to take this up and look because I learned this somewhere, might have been YouTube. And then they find that little port and they're like, oh yeah, this is where I plug the cable. That's the thing I want to convey to my viewers. I want them to feel like
that's
they can sustain themselves.
That's difficult because a lot of people look for recipes.
Yeah.
They want to follow the recipe and say, if I do this, I got this result, I'm happy. And then you said, no, the recipe might change from one type or the other. You might not have the same stuff to play with.
Yeah.
So you have to know that the global concept of the recipe, but you need to adapt. You need to. Yeah, I know, because I did.
But there you're touching upon the concept, because I mean, you can make, for instance, let's say you want to make French fries. Okay, so if you know the concept of doing that, what type of cooking method you need, how long, and how it's different for some types of potatoes, then you have a concept and you can make several dishes now. It doesn't really, I mean, you're not going to need the recipe. You're going to start experimenting. That's the thing I want to convey in some way.
Because that's, at one point, everything that is art related or creative related is always like that. I mean, people, at one point, there's a recipe you're going to use. Yeah, if you do this, you know, you're going to make a rock song. If you do this, you're going to make a hip hop song. If you do that, you're going to be whatever it is. If you do this, you're going to have a bass. If you do that, you got a piano sound. But you don't have to follow these recipes. You need to know them because it will help you understand where you are within the universe of sound and music. But then you start making your own stuff. Because in the end, what I say to a lot of students is that when you learn music, it's like learning to cook. Nobody sits down in the restaurant looking at their plate and go, what make of oven are you using?
Yeah.
Nobody cares, you know?
Yeah.
Is it good? So nobody knows if you're using Cubasis or Live or whatever it is. Nobody cares. Is the song good, you know? And I'll go even further than that. It doesn't have to sound good. It has to feel good. Because I know bands, you know bands, songs that you love, that they're not hi-fi quality. The song is good. And it rocks, or it moves you. And that's why you go back to these songs. It touches you. And it's not because it sounds good, it's because it feels good. And that's the essence of what people have to understand at one point, is that technology has to be, you need to know about it enough that it becomes second nature. You don't need to think about it because you need to think about moving people, you know.
I mean, you're touching upon something there, because it's funny. You know, whenever I've made like pocket opera videos, something that people always ask about is, what's the sound quality? All right? Because there's always this talk about the best sound quality. Now, I get it, because you're mastering it in a certain way. It's going to be played in certain cinemas. You're gonna need 6-channel sound. You know, all of that stuff. Yeah. I get it. You want your 32-bit flow. I get it. But the music that guy goes home to listen to is probably going to be Billie Holiday from some old scratchy vinyl somewhere. And it's going to be sampled from something that had its range at 22 kilohertz or something like that, which is, you know, kind of like our ears anyway. But every time I do this video with the pocket operator, if I take my headphones when I'm doing a pocket operated thing and I give it to someone and they say, usually they say that, hey, it sounds great. And if I then tell them you're listening to audio at 22 kilohertz, 8-bit ULAW, just regular, the early stuff. We're talking Windows 95 and even earlier. They're going to drop their jaws. Why do they do that? Because they have this concept that they think, that something sounds golden in a certain way. It has to be a higher quality. Most of the stuff we listen to at YouTube is so compressed, you'll never even hear the full range of it, ever. I can hear my own music change as soon as I upload it.
Yeah, well, of course. But, the notion of quality of sound is a difficult one, especially when we talk about digital stuff. You said about the 8-bit instruments. Basically, it's more about the timbre. They sound way. It's part of their colors. Like having an old guitar with an old amp and having distortion in it, it's part of the sound. It's not pristine. It's, aggressive, noisy, and that's what you want. So the high quality today, if you really think about it, would be mostly for recording acoustic instruments that you want to sound like the original sound in the space. Like, let's say you record a jazz band. Yes, you want it to sound natural because the clientele listening to that music want it to sound like they're in a jazz club listening to the real band. So that's about, every time you talk about acoustic performances, yes, that might be the only moment when you talk about high-end quality microphone and, but if you record a pop vocal, which is going to be squashed anyway, auto-tuned, and then mixed, and then put it into the MP3 file, it's not that it doesn't matter. It's you won't hear the difference.
No.
That's the reality. It's just, and any talk about it is just losing moment.
I think the best way to go about stuff is, does it work? Does it work for you? If it works for you, then use it. It's not harder than that. God, I get comments like that a lot, actually. Like, why are you showing videos with AUM? Nobody uses AUM for making full songs. Yet I have videos on my channel where I'm making a full song with AUM. I'm actually mixing it live. And that's a completely valid way of making songs live. Only my band is now all the instruments I put in there. So it's just...
When you talked about it in your video, because I don't have AUM, I never saw the need to buy it. And because I play with hardware now a lot, and then I combine it with the iPad. So but then when I saw the approach that you have and other people also showing me how they could use it, I said, okay, I get the notion of how you can do it. But then it's become, at one point, you need to have a global vision of your tools as an entire studio. Do you use everything as part of a bigger end, or like if you use a DAW, then it goes into the DAW itself? So people don't have the same vision of all that, and if you use with AUM, you're basically working more in a modular way in a fashion, because
exactly
that's it.
That's why I use it, because of its modularity, because I'm not locked. Okay. If I want to do a set where I need everything locked, I might end up using AUM, but I'm going to have a very specific way of doing stuff. And my session is going to be very specific with very specific plugins, and everything has to be tied to my controllers in a very specific way. And I've made videos like that. I have those sessions. I could load up the template and I'm instantly there and I can create with that. And that's a set I can use. And that would just require me bringing this and my iPad, and that's it. But when I want to sit and jam and I have a lot of hardware connected to like a multi-channel sound card to my iPad, like sets of stuff like you have behind you there, you have a whole suite of stuff, fun stuff you can use. Suddenly you want to add something. You want to be able to make the Arturia microfig stutter. You want to stutter the audio there. And so in those cases, it's so nice when you have everything piped through AUM just to load up something like Tornado, and suddenly you have a touch control for that stutter on that screen. It's just the modularity of it. So I'm building the set as I go, and suddenly I have a song or something that I can work on, and now the iPad is now become integrated. It's not just a modular extension where I get to experiment. It's now become something. So that's what I like about it. The experimentation, it's lovely for that. And it's faster than a modular system because it's a mixer. It's a modular mixer. That's all it is.
When I first saw your live, it was like, okay, a lot of thinking went into the setup that you have. I was looking into doing live stream with the pandemic, being at home, and saying, okay, and I tried OBS, and I never found a way to make it so I'm comfortable, you know. And so what was your thought process when you decided on your setup for your live kit?
If you go back to the absolute first Hack Attack episode I did 6 years ago, and you watch that, you're going to see an iPad very clearly in view, even though the light is shitty as nothing, because I was using regular desktop lights. Everything is yellow or orange or red. You can see that the first thing that I focused on was the fact that people should see what's happening on that screen very clearly. I watched way too many videos where I can't see what's going on. I can see the person talking, I can see the hands, and the screen is like so far away. So it's like this in the picture. And I'm not going to be able to see that. And what I was thinking back then was, I want to be able to see what's happening there, even if I'm watching this on an iPhone screen. Now, the years move along, and I now have a channel. It's been 2 years. I started streaming uncomfortably. And what I did, this is what you're going to have to do, Luke. So listen closely now. You're going to have to let your viewers tell you that they don't give a shit about the 720p quality. They just want to interact with you.
Okay.
So in that case, you're going to have to do what I did. I made myself shut the hell up and listen to my viewers and let them just tell me that it's fine, Jakob. It's going to be bad. The audio was bad in the beginning. It cut out. I was dropping out frames. The video quality was bad. And the chat was having a rave. They were having fun. That's the thing. I had to let go of my insecurities, because when you are live streaming to your audience, Luke, you're not the important person. Believe me or not, it's the interaction. It's what you make together. It's the audience and you. Suddenly you become one. That's what it's all about. And that's how I felt comfortable. So as long as I could make sure that everyone can see everything, even though the quality is just 720p. It's just 720p, man. It's not the highest quality. I think it is stereo at least. But even when I stream in mono, just if you can see the screen, a little bit of my hands and my face, that's enough. The chat will do the rest together with you, as long as you have something interesting to talk about. So that's my thought process. Make sure that everyone can see it, no matter how bad it looks. Just make sure everything is seen. It's a very simple setup. If you have an extra iPad, just use it as a camera, man. Come on, it's so simple.
I actually have a lot of iPads here.
Just get one of these things and put a webcam on that. And if you need it, you put the microphone on that, right? And then you put up your iPad in front of you like this, filming your face, and then you put the other iPad or screen or MacBook, whatever. If you have everything set up on one table, all you need to do is press stream, and you can stream once a week, and your viewers will thank you for it.
You're right. You're right. Then the logic, as you said, is the interaction. And that's when I sat in your videos and I exchanged in the chat room, it was obvious the fun I had interacting. And the fun I had seeing other people interacting. And it got me thinking about, I could do something. I need to find a format that I'm comfortable with, that I can just be myself, because I don't have to create anything new. I just have to, be myself with the people who like what I'm doing. And so I'm gonna reflect on how can I do a simple setup, because the way I set it up for my videos is fairly simple. My room here is just for this. So when I sit down, I can just take my microphone, turn it on, and I can record. I can really just sit down and record. But I didn't have, or I don't have yet, a workflow like that for streaming. And so I'll look into it.
You're gonna have to be uncomfortable until you get comfortable. You already know this, man.
Yeah, I know. I've been there. I'll think about
Just
it.
do it, man. Just do it. Just roll with it.
I'll do it. I'll do it. I think I need to find the format I'm comfortable with, but I'll do it. I saw you do sounds or presets with different plugins and different
Yeah.
points. So, anybody giving you a feedback on these, saying, "Oh, great stuff," or are you looking to?
Oh yeah, I get loads. Yeah, I get loads of love from the community about my sounds. That means, I think, sometimes that means more than anything to me, because I've always been like sound first. Sound designer first. Going into sound design, breaking down a synthesizer, finding out what it can do, make it do specific things, but musical things. I've not been like a noise person. I'm not into just listening to a synth drone for 15 hours. I want to make sounds and make them do musical things, So I'm always very, very humbled by that. And I do get a lot of love for it. They're out there. My sounds are out there and people are using them and they're loving them. And I just want to make more of them. Don't we both have sounds in the Black Hole Reverb one?
I think so. I think you were there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw your patches there. Yeah,
that's
definitely.
It.
Yeah.
But that's it. I mean, the black hole one, and there's another one, and there's a friend of mine, which is a sound engineer. I was on a meeting with him at one point, and we were waiting for other people to come in. I mean, a Zoom meeting, of course. And then he stops and says, "Look," he said, "I was mixing stuff yesterday, and I loaded the black hole reverb, and I was just looking for something, try a preset, and I tried yours, and said, well, the second one was exactly what I wanted. Like, well, super happy to hear. It's just like it. I think in my case, it confirms that I'm doing something right.
Yeah, exactly. I was really happy to see that when Eventide came into the iOS sphere, that they actually invited iOS people, making these videos to do sounds for that, because that's a recognition,
Yeah,
it's a sign of recognition. It's very, very nice that not nice. It's very awesome that they did that. I mean, there's a lot of people that thought that I was paid loads for my Pocket Operator videos. I spent 300 hours making those two videos for the Pocket Operator 33 and the Pocket Operator 35. 300 hours, and I wasn't paid anything for that. But a lot of people thought I would, because the scope of those videos are so huge. I just wanted to make them.
That's one thing that people don't get, is that most YouTubers start, at least most of them work in the fashion of it's a labor of love. You do it because you're passionate about it. It shows in your video that you're passionate about what you're talking, and you want to do something that looks great, that people find interesting, and they come back. So, like you say, you put more hours than you should in a way, but because you want to be proud of what you're putting out there,
Yeah, I mean, I've always treated this as a full-time job, and there's at least 8 hours per day going into this. Like there's at least that, and have always been that. Always.
It's a two-part question, and I like to finish with this. In the last 3 years, what was the technology or the new thing that changed a lot of how, I would say, the iOS world exists? And the second part is, where do you see it going in the next 3 years?
What's changed it right now is something that happened now, and it's audio unit extension multi-output. All right. That has been the biggest thing, because even though I haven't really liked that everything is going just into audio unit plugins, a lot of my viewers and your viewers, if they're into iOS, which they probably are, they might cringe at that, because everybody wants that. Me, I like when my iPad runs apps as instruments, and even though apps come out as audio units extensions, if I can run them at standalone, I will, because I like using them like that, like the big screen and everything. But the multi-output was very important, because something that I felt was very lacking when I'm using something like Cubase or something like that is not being able to do sidechaining. I've been using sidechaining for most of my musical life as soon as I could, hardware stuff. I've been sidechaining compressors and gates and even de-essers and all kinds of stuff, modulars, and not being able to do that, not being able to take an app which is a groove box, and port out multiple channels so that I can individually just process the kick with an equalizer and the snare around the 200 hertz area where I don't like it. And not being able to do that was always something that I felt was so lacking. And now we can. The future of this music thing that we're doing here, it's definitely going to be an expansion of the multi-out system for audio unit extensions. We're going to see inter-app audio apps completely disappear. It's already happened.
Yeah.
In fact, it's already happened because the market did that.
And people are stopping making for that.
Yeah, even though many of the developers you and I talk to, they still employ it, right? Yeah. But sometimes we notice it doesn't work too well. And even audio unit extension is not perfect. It is not perfect, and it does crash a lot. The future of this platform is going to become what it is on desktop, what we've had on the desktop for a very long time. The DAWs, everything, it's just going to look the same. Most of these companies making DAWs, they're trying to make DAWs where you can open up one thing on your iDevice or mobile phone and then continue on desktop. And for that, they have to make everything interconnect and make it the same. We see that more and more.
But there's a huge difference in the interface when it's a tactile interface compared to a laptop where it's a computer interface.
Say that to Apple, because that's not how they're marketing it. No. They're marketing the iPad as a laptop.
I know.
That's what it is. It's a laptop that you can detach everything. If you ever watched a sci-fi movie where someone pulls up a see-through thin sheet, like a thing where they got like a holographic view or something on it. That's your smartphone, your smart pad, anything. We're getting closer to that. They want to make everything thinner. They remove ports. They want to make it wireless. They want to make everything uniform. It could be glasses. It could be a projector. It could be anything. But we're moving towards that future. I mean, the future is going to be, everything's going to be the same. And we're going to lose a lot in that. But it's also going to democratize the way we can do stuff.
Then one question. What is the one thing that you dislike the most about the iPad?
Dislike the most about the iPad? What I dislike the most?
Or that is...
I can only choose one thing. I work professional with my iPad. Like, it never leaves my hands except from when I'm doing this thing, with the interviews. I don't want to touch it, but God, there are a lot of things. But with this one, the only thing I don't like with it right now is that one port.
Okay.
Yeah, and with the new iPad I'm going to get, it's going to be that I don't have a headphone port on it.
Okay.
That's literally it.
One of the reason I go back to hardware, it's because of the tactile knobs. That's one of the reasons I still have all of this, is because you turn this, it does one job, and it works. And the instant gratification is there. Whereas on the iPad, I like it, but at one point, you can't close your eyes and just move stuff. I mean, you need to look at your finger to see what you're doing, unless you have a controller. But that's the one part that gets me back to hardware, the fact that one knob, one job, and it works.
You see, for me, the iPad becomes what you're talking about. It becomes that one thing with that one tactile surface that doesn't need to be anything more than flat when I am using apps that turns it into an instrument. And now we are talking Borderlands Wrangler.
Yeah.
That's one, for instance. And the other one is TC11. There are some more apps like that, but those two, you load them up, it becomes an instrument. Now with something like Sampler, you're going to have to look at it. But that feeling of me just touching and grabbing and doing what I want with the waveform is there. It's intermediate. It's instant gratification. I don't need to have 10,000 apps loaded. For me, there is I don't need it to be an audio unit. It doesn't make sense for me to have that in an audio unit, to slim it down, to destroy what it is, that instrument. You load it up, It is just that. It's one of the best, most fun samplers I've ever used. And you just load it up and it's right there. You interact with it with your fingers. It's multi-touch. You can hold your pad like this and touch it, and you can do a whole set like that. This is my instrument now. I loaded it as that. It's a sampler instrument. It's not a smart pad. You see, I don't need this when I do that.
It goes back to the interface. The interface
exactly
being thought of as being a thing to play as an instrument, and not just a graphic recreation of a hardware device that you need to turn the knob. So then, yes, turning a knob on a screen is weird because it's not a knob.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, as soon as you start loading up synths, you want that. You kind of, yeah, of course, you want to do this.
That's it.
And so I got this. I got this, and I got the other one, and I do that.
I don't know, where is it? It's there. It's this. Yeah,
those are
it works really well.
Yeah. So I mean, but then I can tell you that I have had that big studio with all this hardware synths and stuff and everything, and when I had everything, I could turn around and do whatever I want, and I had no inspiration because I couldn't solve any problems. This is when I'm most creative, when I solve problems. The YouTube channel I have now helps me with that. I grab someone else's problem and I solve it in a tutorial. It's perfect. I get to be creative, I get to do music, and I get to help someone. And I never feel like I'm stagnating because there's always problems to solve.
When you talk about the whole thing, one of my problem with everything here, like you say, is sitting there and then just getting inspired by this. I can just pick one and play with it and get inspired by this one, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to get inspired by many devices at the same time because all of them are really deep and you need to go through it, and it's hard to get. I mean, I have also a pocket operator, and I went through that thing, and I brought this on vacation and all that stuff, and I made most stuff on this because it's just one device and you concentrate, you focus. And that's why I go back to the iPad often for creation, because you don't need to think about everything. You just create. And that's why I like Korg, Gadget, and I like Zen Beats, because they're very simple in a way. Just you load your kick, your drum, your bass, your lead, and then you create your music. And then after that, that's when I start to change hat, and I go to producer mode. And then I'm going to use all this to record other sounds and add it to the same song. But I cannot create on this.
Yeah, so you have two different workflows. You have one where you can jam and experiment, and then you have one for
sound design, but I cannot create on. I sound design on this, but I create on my iPad for the song, basically. So it's two different ways. Jakob, a big thank you. I'm super happy that I accepted to do the interview. I got to tell you that I have been listening in loop to your album, your Mellow album.
Oh,
it's great. No, if people don't know about this, go listen to the Mellow album of Jakob Haq. Is just for me, it's the relaxing. And during the pandemic, I would play that in loop because this was my office. I worked from home for a long time during the pandemic, and I would play that just to get, calm myself because of all the turmoil that was happening in around me. So that was, and it's still today, something I listen every week. So great album. And if you don't
thank you, man.
Go listen to that.
That really means a lot to me. Thank you.
So we need to do that again.
Whenever you want, Luke. If there's anything you need, I'm always game. I'm so easy to reach that way.
Very nice of you. Well, thank you very much for the interview. Then I'll try to make something usable out of all this.
Oh man, I don't know how you're gonna do that, man. Seriously,
it's gonna be fun.
So okay,
it's gonna be fun. I might just gonna keep the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave you so you can pick up your kid and take care.
You too, man.
Yeah. Now I want to see if you can find the off button. I always have a problem with that when I live stream.
Here, it's I go.
what is it?
Yeah, the what's the
God.
name?
Okay, so now we're talking.
I wrote actually a question, but I mean we just roll with it. So
Yeah, if I realized if you need a second interview at some point, I'm all game. I'm all game. It's not a problem. You can always just holler at me.
I'm having a ball talking with you.
This is such a nightmare for you to edit, man. I know, because I've been sitting here thinking about it.
When I look at the numbers, I know they're just numbers, but at the same time, it's just you just go like, these people actually like what I'm doing.
Yeah, where did they all come from?
Like,
like, how are there so many? 30,000, 10,000, 6,000, even
perfect.
500 people. You know how many that it would fill a soccer field out here that where the kids are playing. It would fill that completely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane how many people there are.
I went to a Synth salon in Montreal, and one guy stops me and look at me and said, "Aren't you the guy on the YouTube channel, the Nu-Trix guy?" He's like, "Yeah, that's it." He said, "Well, aren't you French?" Like, "Yeah, French Canadian. I'm from Montreal." Like, "Oh, okay."